Hello, this is your next soul, and welcome to How to Play Yu-Gi-Oh! In Yu-Gi-Oh! There are many cards that you can choose from to make a deck. Each deck consists of 40 cards. That is the minimum you can have in a deck. The maximum you can have in a deck is 60. In Yu-Gi-Oh! We use three types of cards. We use monster cards, spell cards, and trap cards. The objective of Yu-Gi-Oh! Is to get your opponent down to 0 life points, starting from 8,000. You and your opponent both start with 8,000 life points. When the game starts, you can usually start the game from a dice roll, a coin toss, or my favorite, rock, paper, scissors. And the player who goes first cannot draw. Also, when you're going first, you cannot attack. The second player who goes second, he can draw, and if he chooses to, or he or she chooses to, they can attack. There are many different ways to win in Yu-Gi-Oh! The first is to get your opponent's life points down to 0. The second way is to deck your opponent out, meaning that if you have effects that constantly make your opponent mill out the cards, lose cards from their deck until they have no more cards from the deck and they're not able to draw from the deck, they lose automatically because there's no more cards. They decked out. And the third way to win is Exodia. Exodia is a creature that consists of 5 cards. If you have all 5 of these cards in your hand at the time, and you show them to your opponent, you automatically win the duel. They can't say nothing about that. And there's a deck around that, so if you're interested in that, go look it up on Google on how to play Exodia. It's kind of cheap. So, I want to teach you how to play. In Yu-Gi-Oh! You have a deck zone, a graveyard, and a remove from play zone. Remove from play is when your monster is banished. That is the term they use in Yu-Gi-Oh! Now to remove cards from the game. So when a card is banished, it does not go to your graveyard. It goes out of play. You're allowed to have 5 monsters. You have 5 monster zones and 5 spell or trap card zones. No more, no less. You also have a field spell zone for field spells and an extra deck. An extra deck is monsters who are optional, are special. Their conditions are special to be able to be summoned. In your extra deck, they are the fusion monsters, synchro monsters, and exceed monsters. Let me get to that later. But these are the 3 types of monsters that exist in the extra deck, but you only can have a combined total of 15. If you could have more than that, that'd be kind of cheap. Monsters can be summoned. Monsters with levels 1 through 4 can be summoned without cost, without tributing. Monsters that are level 5 and high, level 5 and 6, you have to tribute 1 monster for it. Monsters that are level 7 or level 8 or higher, you must tribute summon 2 monsters. There are exceptions to this. The God cards. The God cards require 3 tribute summons, 3 monsters to be tributed in order for them to be summoned to the field. I'm sorry, I'm trying to wrap my head around this. Monsters, there are all kinds of monsters. There are normal monsters, which have no effect, basically just attack and defense, and they attribute. They have a little text, like a little summary you could read at the bottom. Effect monsters, they have effect monsters, as they state in the name, have effects. They are effects on summon that activate. There are effects that you can activate when anytime on your turn, or if it states on the card either player's turn. There's also flip effects, which include them having to be set face down first, and then is their attack or on your turn do you choose to flip them up, then the effects activate. There are also ritual monsters. Ritual monsters require ritual spell cards in order to be summoned. In order to ritual summon, you must have the spell card and the ritual monster in your hand at the same time. You also must use the ritual spell card to tribute the exact number or more if it states on the ritual spell card that you need to ritual summon the card in order to perform a ritual summon. There are fusion monsters. Fusion monsters require a spell card most of the time in order to special summon from the extra deck. The fusion spell card is commonly known as polymerization. With polymerization, you can fuse 2 or more monsters either from your hand or from your side of the field to special summon a fusion monster from your extra deck. There are some exceptions to this rule, because there's also something known as contact fusion. Contact fusion works if you have the select fusion material on the field, and the condition to summon that monster says send cards to the graveyard or return the monsters back to the deck. That is known as a contact fusion. You don't need polymerization for this effect to work. Some of these examples includes Cyber Dragon, Gladiator Beast, and Ritual Beast. Those are different archetypes that I'll get to later. Synchro monsters. Synchro monsters require a tuner and a non-tuner monster. Sometimes the card will say 2 or more non-tuner monsters. A tuner monster is special because it's a monster. It could be an effect or a normal monster, but it has to have the word tuner in it. And synchro summoning is pretty simple. Pretty much you take the tuner, regardless of and you add it to you add the levels of the tuner monster and the non-tuner monster to make a synchro monster. So in this case, this is level 5 synchro monster we have here. So level 5 synchro we have is, it requires 1 tuner monster and 1 non-tuner monster. So if we have a level 2 tuner and we have a level 3 non-tuner monster, we add 2 and 3 together, it makes 5. Level 5 synchro. Synchro summoning is basically all about addition, adding the levels of the tuner and the non-tuner monster. Exceed monsters are relatively new. I mean, they're not so new now, but they were relatively new. They require 2 monsters with the same level to be on the field. For example, you see this card here has level 3. You can tell by the 3 stars on the top here. If you have a monster with the same level, like this card, on the field, you take both these cards and you put them on top of one another, and you perform what is known as an exceed summon. I wish I had an exceed to show you. I think I do. One second. Yep, there we go. So yeah, you have, when you control one level 3 monster, and later on, if it's your turn or the following turns afterwards, you number summon another one, it's still on the field, you overlay them by putting them on top of one another, and you perform what is known as an exceed summon, which means you special summon 1 monster from your extra deck, and you put them on top, just like that. It's a rank 3, and the requirements are 2 level 3 monsters, which are these 2. And that's what's known as an exceed summon. And the latest type of summoning now that we have is pendulum summoning. That might be a little bit more difficult for the beginners to understand, but it works like this. Basically, we have something that's known as the pendulum scale. So we have 2 sides. We have a red side and a blue side. The pendulum monsters are half monster and half spell. So you can activate them by placing one of the pendulum monsters with a scale of 1, for example, on either the red side or blue side on one side, and we take the other pendulum monster with a scale of 5 or 6, and put it on the other side. You set the scale, and what you can now do is what is known as a pendulum summon. The scale of 1 and the scale of 6, what that means is you can now pendulum summon monsters with levels 2 through 5. If you have any monster in your hand that has levels between the levels of 2 through 5, 2, 3, 4, or 5, you can pendulum summon them. Pendulum summoning allows you to summon a whole bunch of monsters all at once from your hand or your extra deck, because pendulum monsters do not go to the graveyard unless they are solemn warning, which is the summon is negated and they go to the graveyard. But in that case, the pendulums usually can be special summoned from the extra deck or from the hand. And as I said, if you have a scale of 1, if you have a scale of 6 on set the scales, pendulum summon levels 2 through 5, 2, 3, 4, or 5. And you can just have a full field of monsters that have field presence, and then you can just attack your opponent just like that. It's really cheap, but let's go one step at a time here. Just wanted to show you I just wanted to introduce you to the mechanics of Yu-Gi-Oh! Hopefully I've explained that in this video. Until then, Next Soul says peace and stay tuned for more lessons.